I have a dream. This is a theme of my bullet journal for this month. We as people have the duty to fight for equality, so down below you can find links to multiple ways you can help from home. So welcome to my bullet journal for the month of June. For this theme, I decided to make it very starry and like night skies. I already had started out by making this calendar that is right here. I use a simple grid pattern. I will show you the supplies. So I am using Le Pen markers for this. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of them. I'm also going to be using Sharpie paint markers in these colors right here. And I'm also going to be using a pencil just to sketch out anything before I place it because I don't want to mess up. I made sketches of my headers for June and my subs section. So what I'm going to do is just erase what I put down so that way I can have a more clear, cleaner image. But I'm going to make sure that I leave enough so that way I can see it in order to make my design on top. Taking the peach paint marker, I'm going to shake it first and I'm going to test it. I'm going to just make these little star shapes. It doesn't matter whether you overline them, I'm just making them like literally how you learn how to make stars in like first grade, where you do like up, down, you know. When you have that done, then we can start the next step. I decided to go in with my very thick 0.8 Le Pen pen, and I'm going to do this with the full entire letters for the month of June. I'm basically just going to outline June and kind of make it look like a constellation. This is going to be a theme that you guys will see later on in my subsection, but I'm just showing you it right now and how cool it looks. I was originally thinking about outlining the stars, but I decided to not outline the stars just because I feel like it takes away from like the simplicity of this design. I'm not saying this is mine either. I'm pretty sure someone has done this already. I just was like, let's just try to make a constellation, okay? I'm now going to be using a ruler and I'm going to be using a very fine marker, which is the one that I use at the bottom to make the calendar. I'm going to make a line separating June from the rest of this little page. I was very confused on which marker I was going to use, so I decided why not just prepare all of them in case I use all of them. And now right here is where I'm going to make my design. If you look at my old April spread, you can see it kind of was very star themed, so I'm going to use that inspiration right here. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making clouds. How I like to make clouds are very different. I like to make these little bubbles right here, and I like them to be really bubbly, you know, very rounded, very just cloudy. But I also like to put more clouds, but these clouds will not be touching, and in fact will have a space in between them to kind of show that they're separated and not the same cloud. Very crazy, I know. Also, let's not talk about that circle because that circle's not very good. So now that I'm actually going to start making my clouds, I'm going to erase the guidelines, but also make sure that it's faintly there. And I'm going to be using my blue pen in order to make sure that these clouds come out really nice and blue and pretty. So I'm just going to carefully follow the guideline that I had made earlier, but also making sure that it looks nice because sometimes the original guideline that you place isn't the nicest looking thing, but at least it's something. I'm going to make a line down the side of the page, but I'm going to keep the bottom of my cloud open. I will explain to you why in a minute. So for filling in my cloud, I like to start from the top. The top is the first thing. I already kind of made that mistake, but we're going to ignore that. The goal of this is to make the top of the cloud look very dense and very thick because clouds are always very dense and thick at the top, but when you get to the bottom of the cloud, they kind of like disappear into space. So I'm going to be putting a lot of lines at the top and making it seem like it's almost a solid. But then as this goes on, I'm going to be making the lines thinner and less frequent, and this will show the idea that the cloud is kind of like disappearing into space, which is why I did not put a line at the bottom, because if I did, it would mess this effect up. My advice is to always start from the bulb of the cloud and paint the sides of it. This way you can make sure that you don't go outside of the lines, even though I do go outside of the lines at some point. It's honestly because I got really tired because this took so long. But I'm going to continue doing that with the rest of the cloud until it is done. Next, I am starting on the other cloud, once again making that line on the side. I'm going to make the little bulbs that I had made earlier, and here you will really see my design like coming forward. I'm going to look at the other side and try to match that shape on this cloud, trying to make sure that it's even in all spaces. As you can see, I got a little confused here, but it worked out in the end. On this cloud, I really showed my technique that I didn't do on my other one because I kind of forgot about it. But all you have to do is just put the paint on the sides to try to make sure that you don't go outside of the lines, because you do not want to go outside the lines. But it's fine because everyone goes outside the lines every once in a while. It's okay, don't worry about it. And now we are going to erase my ugly circle, and I'm going to actually use a washi tape and kind of use this as like an outline or like a sketch for me to make my actual moon. Also, this is supposed to be a moon, but I didn't know how to make a moon look like a moon, so I just drew this circle. In retrospect, I should have done a crescent moon because that way it could have seemed like a moon instead of a little sun. But we learn from our mistakes. Using my peach paint marker, I will show you guys how I outline this. Once it is outlined, I will then start by thickening the sides and kind of make like concentric circles, so that way all of my lines go in one direction. It is very important in this to kind of make sure that your lines all go in the same way, because it kind of builds that like unison and that these shapes are connected and also like solid, if that makes sense. It just shows much more movement in that, because if you have lines going crazy, it's a lot of crazy movements, but if they all go the same way, it's like very concise, even movements, but they all do it in an interesting way, and this is what it looks like when it's done. Not the prettiest, but it's still something. Next, we are going to my subs tracker for the month. I'm going to erase what I had done with my sketch right there. And I'm going to do the same thing, which I did on the other side, which is just put the stars down where they should go in order for me to connect them together to make it look like a cool constellation. Also, if you are wondering, yes, I did in fact move my text over a little bit just because I felt like it was too much to the left, or no, too much to the right, because I forgot to add the S. Once that is done, I'm going to be using the same thick marker which I used on the other side, and I'm going to be making this little kind of constellation title. Also, can we ignore how I made the B really short? The B should be longer, but I messed up. At the bottom, I'm erasing my guidelines that I put, and yeah, just because I like to make sure that I plan everything out before I put things down, just because I feel like it makes things more organized and you can just visualize it better. So at the bottom, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be marking them 1 to 30, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. I'm going to be tracking my subs for the month of June just because it is the start of this channel. So I just was like, let's kind of track it. Hopefully I get some subscribers, so that way it's not like Orion's belt, but yeah. And I'm going to be putting a star there. This means I had 0 subscribers for the first day of June. As time goes on and I hopefully gain subscribers, the stars will go up, they'll go down, they'll do whatever, and they will come together and make a beautiful constellation by the end of the month. I also thought this page looked a little plain, so I decided to make the same cloud design, which I did on the other side, on this side. This took a really long time, so let's just ignore that and like, you can enjoy this footage of me being aesthetic. For this, I decided to not go into the middle section just because I wanted to make sure that the constellation did not get disrupted by these clouds. I know I broke my rule because I said never ever make a line at the bottom, but I want to make sure that it was like a clear border, so only for that reason did I put that cloud there and have it look like that. And this is the finished product, and I'm really proud of how it looks. I think it looks really cute. This has been me making my June layout, and I will hopefully see you guys in July.